This is the one. This is the one. What an incredible week. Oh my god, I can't wait to get sauce. This is such a dang show. Such an industry, I don't know, changing week. Spectacular seismic shifts in the industry, and more spectacular than that is this dang panel of incredible guests, one of which I had to break down to get here. But we're here, we made it happen, and it's going to be an epic show. It's going to be an epic show because of these gents, because of you coming in and tuning in every week. But wow, we have to get into it straight. But before I do that, Asa, I have hardly spoken to you despite the madness that has ensued this week. How are you doing? Co-host, co-founder, co-VR man. Have you actually ventured out into the real world? Do you know what's happened?
Why would I do a thing like that? Why would I go into the real world at this point in time? Because it's January. There's supposed to be no news. We're not supposed to be able to get any guests that anybody actually likes. And it's all falling apart around me. What's happening? Why is it so exciting? Why are we having such a good show? It's going to be though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be. I mean, come on, man. This is what Microsoft does. One day on a Monday, this time on a Tuesday. It's been insane. I don't even need to tell you people what the news is. Surely you know, but we'll get into it. I will explain the structure of the show in a bit, but before I do, I have to introduce this incredible panel of guests. Firstly, wow, the man who graces us with his beautiful, soothing voice, that nice ASMR-inducing, sexy, sexual deviant. I run out of things to say. I don't plan these things. Miles Dompier of Winter Central Gaming. How you doing, man?
Outside of being called a sexual deviant, pretty good. I gotta say, excited to be on. Extra excited to get some Jeff time in, but obviously love Asa, love Gaz. Yeah, and obviously this week has been it's been a doozy. It's been quite a week. We have a lot to talk about. So
yes,
let's go.
We do, and we're going to try and stick to the 1.5 hour limit because there's some commitment issues, but we will get there. We will definitely get there. But last but certainly not least is a man who is practically begging to come on this show. It's Jeff Grubb, the infamous man, the industry's darling from GamesBeat. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Absolutely glad to be here. I'm got my daughter's birthday tonight, so we're pre-partying with this. We're gonna get sauced, and then we'll go eat some cake and be good to go.
I love that. It's gonna be a wicked party for getting sauced today. We're gonna do that. So very quickly, because of and happy birthday to your little one.
Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
amazing.
that.
And thank you for coming on at such a 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
Jeez, congrats. Today.
Yeah, no, later this week, but we're going to eat some cake and stuff today. That's kind of the plan.
Yeah.
It's Saturday.
All right, well, let's just sauce up pre-sauce session before
Right.
the big 3. Big 3 is a big one.
Yes.
But thank you so much for joining us, man. And I will explain the structure of because there's such big news, I had to break it down. So for everyone in chat and gents, I haven't gone through this with you. First, we have to obviously just generally talk about the Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, what that means, whatever. Then we'll go into what older games Xbox can revive. We'll talk about the controversy surrounding the deal, the media's reception of it, regulations and all that. Then we'll talk about and this is the big question a lot of people are asking, what PlayStation can do to counter this deal and how it reconciles the madness. Of course, this is the source. And then we will talk about one thing that's been really a hot topic, Call of Duty, the exclusivity question that's surrounding it, and Phil Spencer's tweet. And finally, just to wrap up, if we have time, we will discuss what other publishers and studios Xbox will acquire or can acquire. But yeah, there's a lot to get into that, so I am conscious of the time. Let's just go into it. So firstly, we need to talk about the deal itself. We talked about ad nauseum. But all of us, I guess, have been in front lines in the discussions of it. Jeff, you've been there in the front lines talking about it and hearing things. This one, though, surely this one came out left field and shocked you as well.
Yeah, completely out of nowhere. I mean, you get the hint that something's going on. You hear like, oh, they're in meetings all Christmas, stuff like that. But it's like no one ever said anything like this. No one ever even hinted that it was this massive. That it would be like the biggest acquisition Microsoft has ever made. I think that's right. It's definitely up there. No one said anything along those lines, and I never dreamt that it would I would wake up one day and see that headline and be like, okay, what is happening? It took me a few minutes to like really sort of process what I was even reading at that point. So
Jeez.
yeah, unbelievable stuff here.
Yeah, and Miles, I'm sure you were the same. Did you spit out your coffee like I did?
Yeah, this happened bright and early. Like I wasn't even awake yet. I wake up to 20 DMs, and my gut instinct is, oh no, what did I say? What did I do? Like I never get this many DMs. Like, and all of them were just one word, like, dude, wow. And I was like, oh no, what did I do? And so I go on Twitter, and then obviously just a wall of Xbox acquiring Activision Blizzard. And I remember all of us kind of being flabbergasted by the 7.5 billion figure of ZeniMax. And so to see $69 billion being thrown around, more than the value of Nintendo, more than the value of most countries in the world, to see that just thrown around casually. Yeah, it was pretty wild to see.
That was. Is it more than Nintendo? Is Nintendo worth less than that?
Their market capitalization, I think, is like what, 50 billion or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like mid 50s, if I remember right.
It would take a lot more than that to purchase them, but that's what their market cap is.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's mad. Asa, your man surely had some reaction to this. Surely.
Well, I was. That's not me. I was picking up the kids from school, and I got a voice note from the Darge Knight. So no, Xbox has just bought Activision Blizzard. Whatever, Dodge, I don't care. And then, not like that, like I'm not an arse, but all right. And then I didn't really think in as like anything I particularly care about, because you know how I feel about Activision. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not a massive Activision fan. And then I get home and see how much they went for, and I'm like, oh, this has absolutely like crushed my worldview. Anybody that believes in karma or anything like that, like, no, the most nefarious publisher out there are worth the most. Tells you everything about the world. Crushing, guys, crushing.
Wow, you took it as a personal slight. You have been vehemently against Activision. I share a lot of that with you, and I don't like to call people. That's such a lie. I do call people out. Bobby Kotick is there all the time. But it is. I mean, the value of it. We have to understand, people. I don't think Microsoft one of the richest, if not the richest, whatever, organization in the world has ever spent this much money. To then do that in the gaming space is insane. One thing I want to pick your brains on, Asa, because I still don't bloody get it. One in the transcripts between Phil Spencer and Bobby Kotick, they keep saying metaverse. Are we Ready Player One-ing right now because of that weird robot person at Facebook is forcing us into this dystopian future? What is that? What is the flipping metaverse? That's what they keep saying.
I don't even want to answer that. That's a broad question, because it's basically like a massive corporate dream to connect to us more than they are already and extract money from us in more wonderful places and ways. That's pretty much the sum of it. The dream, the metaverse that you're dreaming of, this treadmill that I've got behind me, being able to connect everywhere and be everything you ever wanted to be. Yeah, I'm sold on that. The metaverse, when Microsoft and Facebook sit there in their corporate boardrooms going, oh no, leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if it's like that Futurama episode where Fry gets that sex doll, then I'm okay with that. But if still,
that's what they do. That's the corporate boardroom meetings that I'm talking about.
I was like, of course. But yeah, I mean, first of all, Jeff, what does this mean for the industry? What does it mean for Xbox?
It's so big that it's like it's really almost hard to begin to suss out what it's really going to mean. There's the short term, there's the long term, and there's a million different ways you can go in between. In short term, clearly it means that you could feel pretty good about buying an Xbox and feel good about like, oh, I'm going to be able to get a lot of games if I get Game Pass and stuff like that. And if I get an Xbox, I'll get Game Pass. I know these games are going to be there. If I'm a Call of Duty fan who hasn't upgraded yet, well, I can feel pretty safe about going the Xbox route right now. and that's, that stuff makes sense, but obviously it's so much bigger than that. They are looking ahead to trying to corner out the market so that they truly own the Game Pass and anything like it. They are trying to make it so expensive to compete with them that most companies choose not to and instead look to work with them. Like if you have content, you don't just go and start your own Paramount Plus or whatever. You don't go start your Apple TV Plus. You are going to probably want to bring it to Microsoft instead, because creating something that is even close to the value proposition of Game Pass is becoming more and more expensive, less and less profitable, and it's going to be it's scary. It's not just scary for Sony and for EA and Ubisoft to compete. It's scary for Activision or for Amazon and for Apple to try to come in and compete, and for Tencent even. They're like, oh man, okay, Microsoft's super serious about this. This is going to be a real war if we try to get in there, and we'll have to spend the money. But they've already got this foundation of having a gaming brand that people trust and has a pretty positive sentiment score, and so we have to build up that while also spending all this money buying up content. So they are looking very far ahead to saying, hey, we can be the first person to really make this Game Pass thing work. And we've been saying that for years, of course, but this is just evidence that mission hasn't just sort of like, oh, that's their ongoing mission. This is clearly their number one top priority. They believe they can own this space and they can box everyone else out. And if you try to start your own subscription, they're going to box you in and say you're going to be part of Game Pass as well. So it's a huge thing, and it means a lot. But it's going to, the number of ways it could shake out, who knows?
Definitely. Well said. Absolutely. And as you were saying that, I kind of I started to realize we always talked about Xbox as the underdog in the space. Kind of stupid now, or wrong, or that's shifted. Would you say that's the case, Miles? Do you think Xbox is the underdog anymore?
Well, I think they just had a period of time where I think we could all see that they weren't fully committed to Xbox. Regardless of, how much they're spending on it. When you look at the broad web of Microsoft, you could tell for a period of time that Xbox and gaming wasn't a key pillar of their business strategy. We had Phil and Satya come out last year and say, we are taking gaming seriously, and the PR fluff stuff that you kind of expect. And I think what's most important about Xbox right now is they're consistently delivering on the things that they tell you. So when they tell you, we want to build up our first party stable, when we want to put out great games, we are taking gaming seriously. They are taking gaming $69 billion seriously after just spending $7.5 billion on Bethesda like a year ago. That is huge. And like Jeff said, that's got to be scary for anyone, because, later on, obviously we're going to talk about, PlayStation and how they can counterattack or whatever. But the reality is most people can't jump in the space and spend $70 billion on anything. Most companies don't have $70 billion of capital sitting around that can be invested. And so when you look at the value proposition of Game Pass now, it's going to be something that the casual person can look at and say, if I get Game Pass, pretty much everything that I could want to play in 1 year is on there. So now I can just get this and I'm set. And that is a really tough thing to compete with. And as the service grows and as they, start rolling out stuff like Call of Duty, if they increase the sports efforts in games like Madden and FIFA and have those day and date, your average person is going to be way more interested in gaming, I think, because of that barrier is just completely broken down for price.
Exactly. That's a great point there, Asa, that Miles is talking about, is the average person as well. And so we'll go into COD a bit, because I think that ties in quite well with that conversation. But it's the average person that is going to be taking notice. I've had people call me and say, hey, is COD not coming on PlayStation now? What's going on? This is something like you cannot ignore. Generally, do you, and I'm just going to go into another topic in a bit about the reception from the media about it, but generally, do you see this as a positive for the industry? Because your earlier response seems to suggest otherwise.
Did it? You mean because I'm not a big fan of Activision?
Yeah.
No, so it's interesting that you talk about the average gamer, actually. The average gamer isn't the Call of Duty gamer if you look at the numbers that Microsoft consistently talk about. And they've upped it from 2 billion to 3 billion gamers lately. But obviously Activision do touch the mobile space as well and do expand the options and possibilities in these spaces that we don't talk about so much as well. Is it good or bad for the industry? Is definitely a case of time will tell. I'm not.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what Game Pass does in terms of accessibility and Microsoft's grand strategy of bringing games to everybody everywhere. I also do still value the Sony and Nintendo approach, the more traditional approach to building a game and selling it. So
Me too.
I think it's not entirely negative, and the fact that it's Activision rather than any other publisher, fine. Call of Duty, fine. But Microsoft's general direction to turn everything into a subscription service, I think people should be slightly cautious of. I'm not saying cancel your Game Pass subscription, but if you appreciate the traditional, Spider-Man is the example. So you play Spider-Man on the PlayStation at the moment, and you go into the costumes menu, and you've got reams and reams and reams and reams of costumes. You imagine how that page would look under any different publisher you can think of. It doesn't look like that, right? So if you value that kind of experience, that is kind of under threat a little bit, at least in the top end, like big budget games. But overall Game Pass is enabling millions of people to play games. So
Yeah. I mean, in the immediacy of things, it's insane as a consumer. It looks really good. I will go into more talking about the media, but I very quickly have to reach out the super chats. And also, my massive apologies if I don't get a chance to embellish on the topics like we'd like to. So, because we're pushed for time. SM, thank you for the £1.49 hot dog emoji. I don't know what to do with that, but thank you. Alexander Dark 91, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Love the show. Put this money towards getting Colin a psychiatrist. Wow. Which Colin are you talking about? But thank you so much for the support. Dio Game, thank you so much for the $5 Canadian. Maybe we shouldn't read all of these. Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 were announced for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but may come out after the cross-gen period. Could Microsoft use this as an excuse to make them exclusive? Good question. Jeff, go for it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like if it's so far removed from PS4, like being a viable thing, maybe. But even then, it's like there's still a chance. They like, we said it, we meant it. We're gonna stick to it. We don't ever want to look like we're ever going back on our word. But it's still like, it's so hard to determine that stuff. Like how like Diablo 4 got pushed out of this year, like, and it's like, oh, so maybe in 2023. Who knows if it's even coming out then? It's like it'll probably come out after the deal closes, and at that point everything's up in the air. I will say there's a chance that maybe it just is exclusive to Xbox, but if they said that, they'll probably stick with it.
Yeah, those contracts, they will honor them. It's just logistically, it's going to be legally a headache just to undo those. But it's a good super chat. Hargit Channy, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I invite everyone to join me here in Kazakhstan. It's great being a Kazakhstani. Unlimited source. Hey, Sir Jeff and Miles. Thank you. Yes, it's great here. It's great here in Kazakhstan. Thank you for endorsing my little country. Nathan Martin, thank you so much for the £4.49 super chat. Can Sony right now make deals with Activision that could potentially last beyond 2023? No. Could something be tabled as crazy as COD on PS5 for 5 years? Impossible. It's not happening. I can tell you that now. They can't just go in there and hey, no, it's done. It would just make no sense. But thank you for the question. Don Ixaku, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I'm pretty sure the metaverse push was one of the ways Phil was able to push investors and Satya to agree to this deal. Great point. I think I agree with you because there's a lot of word there, a lot of focus on mobile in this spiel. Almost seems like it's trying to pacify regulators as well and future-proofing any arguments. But we'll go into that. We'll go into that and ask the gents their views on that. Darge Knight, thank you so much for the £4.49 super chat. Thanks for the shout out, Asa. I enjoyed sharing the news. Shocked everyone. I literally did nothing the whole afternoon at work. Darge is also the person who told me this. He called me on the phone and goes, oh, mate, I'm going to do an impression of you in a bit. Oh, mate, have you not checked your messages? I'm like, no, mate, I'm at work. He's like, mate, Xbox just bought Activision. And I was just like, fuck. Sorry. Off.
You should be apologising for that weird South African dart you just invented.
That was pretty terrible. I can't do Cockney. But yeah, Dodge, shout out to you for telling me I dropped everything and made some videos. I hope no one at work is watching this. Hargit Channy, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. It goes, hashtag make COD exclusive. Hargit, so messy. Chabs Inevitable, thank you so much for your membership because Microsoft once it's placed in the metaverse for gaming, they are not sitting at the small table with Nintendo and Sony. Ooh, small table. They're sitting with the big boys like Amazon and Meta. This is something Phil Spencer actually said quite some time ago about when asked about who his competition was. So perhaps you're right. Now it's called the Metaverse, though, not Facebook. It's weird. Poxy, thank you so much for your membership, because from Xbox got no games to Xbox got your favorite games. Yeah, thank you so much, Boxy. Dazwell Gordon, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. One thing I haven't really heard anyone talk about is that Xbox has a GTA competitor in True Crime in their list of IPs that could use a revival. True Crime? Are you on crack? No way. No way is that competing with GTA. I'm sorry. What the hell? Sorry, but thank you so much for the super chat. But no. Yeah, great super chats, actually. Normally we'd invest on this, but there's so much to talk about as well. It's probably good for the flow of the conversation. Controversy surrounding the deal. The deal has been causing some people, journalists. Oh, this is going to put you in an awkward position here, Jeff. I'm going to read out some journalists whose takes have been quite interesting. Jason Schreier, longtime fan of ours, especially mine, he said and tweeted it actually, "I'm on vacation today, brackets lol. But if I were not, I would be calling up some antitrust experts because Xbox buying Bethesda, now Activision, sure seems like the type of horizontal merging that the DOJ frowns upon." Oh, Schreier. What's your take on it, Jeff, before I get cancelled?
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as close enough to the horizontal merging that they would really take a look at. I mean, there is more video games being made than ever. There are video games that come out of nowhere on Steam, early access. We've got Valheim and Among Us and a million other things that come out of nowhere that make $1 billion. They are still only the third biggest video game company even after this, and there's a list of very profitable and high revenue video game companies that is way longer than just 3 or 4 like it is in telecom or whatever in the United States. I think if you, and I'm not the only one saying this, if you actually call up those antitrust experts, they're saying the same thing. They're like, this is just not going to register. Now, I'm speaking from a North American United States perspective. There's a chance Europe might be a little bit more on top of this. The European regulators might be a little bit more serious about this, but even then, I expect this to go through. I just don't see. I just don't see it registering. Like I said.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you, and I don't think there'll be that much pushback as people are suggesting. Miles. Actually, no, I have to ask Jeff this, because this is coming from his best friend Colin Moriarty.
Yeah, let's do it.
I've tried to play Parent Trap and tried to get you two to kiss, but that is not going to work. But Colin, you know, he unfollowed me and his friends unfollowed me because of a little Source video I did, but it's fun. Come on, man. Come on, it's just having a little bit of fun at your expense. He says, in purchasing Activision, Microsoft has undoubtedly set off a new round of M&As, mergers and acquisitions, that will coalesce entities. It's bad for creativity, bad for devs, and bad for players. And in the show, there's some...
I just disagree with that. I disagree with that. I think that... Look at the state of creativity in the video game industry today. Like, we can see it for ourselves. I don't get where people are trying to pull off this whole imagine how bad it's going to be when we can look around today and see the games that Activision Blizzard were making. They were scared as all to make anything like that was making anything like close to new. They were just going to make Call of Duty. All the games they were making that weren't like made a certain profit threshold were getting completely scratched off the board, and they were left with just Call of Duty and Blizzard. And then Blizzard started going downhill, and that's why they had to end up selling, because they were like looking at a couple of years coming up that are going to be really bad. And their plan to get out of that was never make more creative games. Like, they were never like, oh, the solution here is to make more games. So under Microsoft, that does seem to be the answer. I really, it's because they have a different incentive structure with Game Pass. Like, clearly, I think we are at least going to get more from what Activision was under Microsoft than we did before. And people can do the whole like slippery slope thing. Go to town. We should hear all those criticisms. We know what it's like right now, and the alternative here is clearly better, even if it might not be the best. Like, okay, we live in a society where governed by capitalism. You have to meet a certain threshold. You please your stockholders and all that stuff. That's not great for creativity. But then I doubt what Colin Moriarty here is suggesting is a social infrastructure where the government takes taxes and then uses that to pay people to make video games, which is what I would suggest. But whatever.
Oh, shit. That's perfect. That's perfect. Miles, there has been. What's your take on this? Because there's so many takes on this.
There's been so much discourse going on, and again, I'm on the same page as Jeff. There's been a lot of what I would consider disingenuous, kind of bad faith criticism regarding this.
Yeah.
You don't have to be all in and say that there is no possible way that this will go wrong in any capacity. This will be the greatest thing ever for the industry, greatest thing ever for Activision Blizzard. But you can't look at how Activision Blizzard has been operating the last few years and say, I want to keep that going. I want every single one of these developers to work exclusively on Call of Duty. I want everyone at this company to be miserable and leave. So I especially when people say it's bad for creativity, I have a strong pushback against that, because Activision has essentially killed any creativity within their studios, and everyone is making Call of Duty. We are putting out a Call of Duty every year. I don't care what it takes. I don't care who we have to put on it, how many people we have to put on it. There will be a Call of Duty, because as much as we complain about Call of Duty being mediocre or we're burnt out, it's still the #1 selling game every year, and that's why they do it. And there's just this machine that churns out Call of Duty, and that's what Activision is now. And again, I think we can look at recent history of Microsoft and say that they haven't been a perfect example of work culture, but I think they have done a really good job fostering a culture, especially on the gaming side, that I can look at and say, I have faith that they will foster these teams, and they will allow these teams to work on other IPs. Like, we look at Vicarious Visions. Vicarious Visions crushed 2 incredible remakes, Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Amazing, phenomenal, amazing games. They were then just dissolved and then turned into a support studio after delivering these incredible projects. And that's not fostering creativity. So that is not good for create was before. I don't think you have any right to do that.
Yeah, well said. Really well said. Asa, he's going back off of what Miles and Jeff have said. You more than anyone have been vocally against Activision's culture and called it out last gen. Me and you were talking about this years ago. Why does EA get all the flack when Activision is the one that's to worry about? Then I've got these quotes. I've got so many from so many. So when quoting your article, Jeff, which I shared out, and I said, for those crying about consolidation without considering the full picture, look at this. Activision Blizzard wanting to sell. They had a talent pool that was migrating. They couldn't sustain that growth. Richard, Review Tech USA, he was like, this is disastrous for the gaming industry. And I saw so many of what I consider to be hot takes, but respectfully, if you can disagree, disagree. I'm not calling you out. Apologies, it sounded a little bit loaded there. But Asa, Activision, all these studios, Miles is right. They were literally lumbered with COD all day. Immediately on the announcement, Phil Spencer's already talking about reviving old IPs. Isn't this genuinely a positive move? What about why does Colin Moriarty not ask the bloody employees of these companies who've been tweeting from Activision finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel? What's your view on it?
I am going to speak more sense than I have been so far this show. Right. So the fact that it's nice that everybody here is kind of recognizing Activision as what they have been as well, and putting that forward as a massive plus for this acquisition. So it kind of pushes aside all of the other concerns that people have got around the competitiveness of the industry and all the rest of it. Activision has been the place that these two have just described for a long time. And it's funny because for the last... How long was acquisition season? 2 years? However long it's been going on for. People have been speculating.
Forever, baby. We live in it forever now.
People have been speculating that. We always have these conversations who do you think Microsoft's going to get? Who do you want them to get? And the list of answers, I've never seen Activision in there as a studio that anybody wanted them to get, or a publisher that anybody cared for Microsoft to get. But at the same time, it's a rescue effort. You have to see the positivity in that, because in Microsoft's boardroom, it is not a rescue effort, but for us as gamers,
yes,
all that IP. I'm one of the many Blizzard fans, and it was terrible to hear that many of the like the allegations against the studios for sexual harassment and things, they were going on at Blizzard well into the past before Activision came into it. So I'm not saying that they're completely free of any blame or wrongdoing, but I've been a massive fan of Blizzard's games forever, and it's just been horrible to see the way that they've been commercialized since that acquisition. The way that World of Warcraft started off as it was controversial. You had to buy it and you had to subscribe. What was that all about? In comes Activision. Now you've also got a cash shop and you can buy gold and subscribe and buy the expansion. And it's like, this company that I used to love, can we not? Can we stop it? And now we can stop it. Now Microsoft can stop it. So what was the question? I don't know. That's my answer.
But that was a good answer to the question. You don't even realize what it was. It is really a rescue effort. Yeah, like you say, not in the board at Microsoft, but for us gamers. I see it as resoundingly positive. And again, sorry, Colin, I'm not really sorry, but there's a double standard there in celebrating timed exclusives all the time. There's a track record there.
Well, I think timed exclusives are actually worse. And this is a position I get crushed for all the time, but I'm like, I will never
fully agree.
I will never go away from this, because there's a difference between seeing a game become good while someone else takes the risk, and then coming at the end and paying some money to keep it off someone else's console, and you taking on the risk yourself. If you take on the risk and build the game from this is why I always Epic Games, I had like the Epic Games Store. I'm like, you are just paying to keep this off Steam. I think that's actually kind of crappy. This sucks. Guess what they've done since then? They've started up an Epic Games publishing thing where they're giving awesome deals for studios to start games from scratch. And I'm like, this is perfect. You are taking on the risk. You are giving really great terms. People want to work with you to make new awesome games. This is the solution, and I have zero issues with Epic Game Store now because of that. It's if you are taking on the risk, I think you should get. It's just, to me, you are funding creativity in a way that coming in the end and paying someone else to keep it off another platform does not fund creativity. And that's actually one of the things I do want from this industry. So and also I just don't see this consolidation moving in that direction quite yet. Yes, Microsoft is bringing in a big old dog studio or publisher that has a lot of IPs that are very popular and have been very popular and stuff, but they're also sort of treading water and can't really see a future forward. And everywhere else around them, there's still more investment now than there has been in the last several years into new studios. Like, I mean, the Embark Studios in Sweden has 250 employees. They've never released a game yet. That's unheard of, but there's enough money going into this industry. And why does that money go into this industry? Because the investors look around, they say, hey, Microsoft's buying, Tencent's buying, Amazon's buying. They're going to acquire us 5-10 years down the road, and we'll have a huge exit. So it's worth it for us to invest. This is the way. If this is the way we're going to have our economy set up, this is the way it's supposed to work. And it looks kind of ugly, but that's what we've decided on. So this is the way it's going to work.
Exactly. No, well said. And I've always said that. I was like, why? I said that in my little source video where I was Colin, but that timed exclusives don't foster creativity. It's the risk. You are so right. You took on the risk. You can foster it, and we've seen. I can't see how. I get it. Prima facie, it's bad when you talk about consolidation. Like you said, we're not at that level yet. I just don't think we are. We're quickly talking about, okay, so in terms of positives, one of the positives is Phil Spencer immediately off the bat says he wants to revisit the IPs that have been squandered under Activision because they've been looking at, COD so much. Miles, what is it that can be quite tasty that bring back? What are the games that you're looking at that you mentioned? Obviously the remakes, but I can mention those again if you want. But this is the exciting part for me beyond COD. This is the one that I'm excited about. What about you?
I'll hit you with a couple. First one's quick. The first one that I want to see is I want to see Toys for Bob jump in and do Crash Bandicoot cross Banjo-Kazooie. I want to see worlds collide, Crash Bandicoot, Banjo-Kazooie, because Crash 4 hit. I'm sorry. Not enough people talk about Crash 4. That game was incredible. And to see that team come in, incorporate some Banjo-Kazooie, because
that's such a sick idea. I don't care about Banjo, but now I do. Just the first time I'm hearing it, by the way. Sick idea.
It's one of those things where I have to imagine, like, everyone wants Banjo. Like, there's a huge vocal group of people who want a new Banjo.
Tiny.
But I can't imagine that there's been no major pitches from anyone to make one. Like, so there has to be someone out there, and I feel like Toys for Bob would step up and deliver. My second one, what I want to see, and this comes from background as a douchey skater back in
I
the
knew you
early
were gonna say.
2000s. I love Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Loved
What
it.
I want to see is a Mario Party Tony Hawk Pro Skater style fusion. Crash Bandicoot's Pro Skater. Put all Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, all the Xbox mascots in this skateboarding party game. Ooh, that's it. That's the one. Don't tell me that wouldn't hit. That needs to happen. That
would be
idea
epic.
needs to
You're
happen.
so good at getting me excited. You're very good.
So putting that out into the world and taking full credit if it ever happens. So
You should, because I haven't heard that before. That's great. That's great. Can you top that, Jeff?
I'll say that. Let's build on that idea. You at the end of each game, you hint that there's going to be another game that is going to also connect to this universe. You bring in Spyro. Then like at the end of the Spyro one that is connected to those previous two, like the Banjo and the Crash game, you put in something like, we're putting together something. We're putting together a big party, and then you say, okay, and clearly they hint that it's going to be a Smash Brothers game or something like that, something along those lines. And then you also hint that it's going to involve not just the cute characters, not just Conquer as well, but also Doom Guy and all these other guys, and like let them have their whole big fighting game together. Let's just do this thing. Let's get it over with.
What's that Avengers like multiverse kind
just
of
do
weird.
it. I mean, like none of this is probably going to happen. So like the realistic thing is probably like
scope there.
Yeah, but I'm like, I'll be happy for like anything Geometry Wars related. Give me another Geometry Wars.
Oh,
but
yeah.
really, I think they should go like, because the thing with like the movie like universes is that you could kind of count on people to show up for one movie every like 3 months or so, even one movie every 2 months or so, and it's like that's relatively cheap. Doing that in games was like, okay, you kind of like, if you're gonna have like a couple of those a year, that's like $60 like every couple of months. People are gonna maybe not be so into that, but if it's all part of Game Pass and you are connecting them, you make each game that is part of this connected universe worth that much more and make people feel like I cannot drop the subscription. I think people underestimate the power of a connected universe because we've had Marvel and we kind of take it for granted. There's a little bit of a backlash, but connecting these games together a little bit more than we have, there is a power there that they can really capitalize on. I don't think they should actually overlook it. I'm when I say this, like, yeah, it's a dream pie in the sky thing, I'm serious. I think Miles is right on with this.
I've never heard this idea. It's genius. That's a win. That's a win. That's such an idea. With all these studios under one banner, why would it not happen? Microsoft, I know you're watching, Phil. You're my biggest fan. Watch it.
Phil, we're sorry for all the swearing.
I'm not. Very quickly, Asa, can you just point on that as I reconcile these super chats as well? I'm sorry, I don't want them to be missed. What's your take on this consolidated universe and tech sharing? Come on, this is beyond just surely like Bethesda. We talked about tech. We talked about all the id tech and all this stuff. Is there something around this is there some tech stuff that we need to be considering?
So the universe thing, the shared universe, that scares me. Like, I get that there's places where that's a good idea, but there are so many games that have been, but there's so many games that have been ruined by misplaced crossovers and promotional events. Like I see, like Final Fantasy 14, the online one, and then they're like, we've got a Nier Automata raid going on, and it just makes no sense. These games are supposed to have a built-up, consistent universe.
Everyone hates Final Fantasy 14, so you got a good point there, Ace.
Well, my point isn't so much the commercial aspect of it, right? These things work and that, but I don't care about the commercial aspect. I want good games and good universes. So I don't want to compromise a good story for the sake of putting Doom Guy on a Halo ring. Or something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be. You're right. That would be like if there's any sort of seriousness to the lore, don't do that. That's where you like let them go out and just like have this like toy box sort of Smash Brothers clone that can happen aside everything, and it's only maybe canon in the cute games where like you can get away with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Are you saying you want serious lore in Crash Bandicoot? Is that the pitch, though?
I'm not pitching anything Crash Bandicoot, Miles. When you say that everyone's after this like Banjo-Kazooie stuff and it's like a massive following, it's not. It's 6 really loud people, Miles. You're one of them.
There are 12 of us. There are 12.
He's right.
Fair enough. For me, like when you look at the Activision IPs, though, like more seriously in terms of IPs they can bring back, I've already said I'm a Blizzard fan forever.
Yeah.
I want to see Warcraft 4 as an RTS, like a real-time strategy game, not the MMORPG that they've got going on. I don't want to see more Diablo because there are so many Diablo games kicking around at the moment. That's fine, but I want to see those ones, the StarCrafts, the Warcrafts, the classic Blizzard IPs are what I want to see brought back to their previous luster.
I want to see World of Warcraft 2, which will never happen. But yeah, shout out to how many? 700 plus people watching live. Thank you so much. Smash that like button if you're enjoying the source. We're going to get into it more. I'm going to read your super chats. 99 Rukin, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. When will we see the squad on Xbox era on? We had it before, but they back at the same time as us. So unfortunately, there's a conflict there. But we're trying to do something. Nick, move your show back. I ain't moving mine, but it'll happen. Well, it definitely will. Krabby! Welcome to the GameOnDaily Elite Familia! Thank you so much for the membership. You're in for a fun ride this year. Promise you. More content than ever before and just so much sauce. Killer of Xbox, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Jeff Grubb is ducking me. Didn't know of the buyout.
I love you, Killer of Xbox.
Not two of them.
Like,
Christ.
oh my god, you've got the
rest of the
This is
show.
amazing. Let's do it. Let's do it. Duet time. Astro Gaming, don't tackle that. Astro Gaming, thank you so much. You don't have to. Who is this guy being funny or he hates you?
Killer of
Or do you know?
Xbox? Oh, he follows me around and spends money to say stuff like this, and it's the best. It's like, I wish that's how it worked in real life. Like like a cop's got to pay you money before he's gonna come and tell you how like you were speeding or something. Like, yeah, he just gives me money on my show on like everywhere, and he does this. So he's just obsessed. But I love it. Whatever, give me money.
Oh wow, yeah, you can keep super chatting, Killer of Xbox, but what the fuck was that? Oh, you pressed the wrong button. Astro Gaming, thank you so much for the $8 super chat. Activision games will still be available on many platforms, unlike PlayStation exclusives. Xbox is pro-consumer, Sony isn't. 100% agree with you. If this was Sony, some weird multiverse where it has the money to do that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I'm sorry. This is where a lot of my animosity comes in, but I know it's a business. I like Sony, but this isn't a conversation. Some people said to me, they tagged me one of this kind of Killer of Xbox kind of guys constantly. Xbox bent the knee. Xbox bent the knee when COD was coming to thing. I was like, how does that bend the knee when Phil Spencer is giving PlayStation charity? It's like you're Oliver Twist there. Give me more. No, that makes no sense. But you're right, Ashtray. RDX on a Fet, thank you so much for the $7 super chat. What's with the double standards? People love Sony exclusivity, but hate it when Xbox does it. Like the Tomb Raider deal, which is so funny because, like you said, timed exclusive, Jeff. Who was the company that got timed exclusivity on Tomb Raider that actually was one of the catalysts for the death of the 3DO? It was Sony money-hatted Tomb Raider. That was the catalyst for its destruction. So there's more arguments to your point. Paul Drew, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. Why are people aghast Microsoft may not put COD on PlayStation, but feels it's okay for Sony to shout out Xbox titles like Final Fantasy? We'll touch into that, actually, by the way. But it's a very good question, and it's not right. Jigga J, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Crash Spyro crossover game, anyone? You're a bit late there, because this guy, Miles, has gone into some next level stuff that I didn't even consider. Crash Spyro with Banjo. The only time I will care about Banjo is when that happens. Microsoft, you better be listening and pay Miles his royalties. J-Rock, good to see you, man. Thanks so much for the $5 super chat. Do you see Microsoft combining World of Warcraft subscribers with Game Pass, giving PC gamers a package deal of sorts? Good question. I think they would want to keep them separate. What do you think, Jeff?
I didn't hear the question. What's the bundle of what now?
He's talking about Microsoft combining World of Warcraft subscribers with Game Pass and
I think there's a chance. It depends on like what's happening with World of Warcraft. The World of Warcraft takes a big dip. Like, maybe that's a good way of pumping those numbers up while also pumping up Game Pass numbers, because I think a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, I'll just get Game Pass now because I was once a World of Warcraft subscriber, and then they find themselves with a bunch of other games, and I think there's a chance. At the very least, there will be some sort of discount. I think at the very least. Yeah.
That'd be good. Yeah. Holgi Chang, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Need to change subscribers now to join Gazistan. We would, but probably get some troubles, especially in the US. Fonzarelli, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Miles and Jeff on the same show. Color me excited. Shout out to Fonz, whose show I have the pleasure of joining. Please go easy on those 5 questions, please. Don't embarrass me. He's making them much harder as his show show goes on. He was so nice at the start. So for the super chats that you gents, the guests have been raising, well, my topics.
Wait, one more super chat. One more super chat. Oh, well, actually, somebody else is saying we've missed one as well. There was one that didn't have a message from Peter Morland, who is always here and was the first one to comment after the show. The message that he followed it up with was, dev work is hard and most of the results are unpredictable. How the bleepy, I'm not going to do that one. Can Microsoft offering devs a financial safety net and royalties be a bad thing? And yeah, that's a massive plus for it. I'm sure we can agree. RDX Son of a Fet, I didn't see your super chat, so if you want to just paste it in the chat, we'll grab it in a second. Thank you.
Yes. RDX Son of a Fet, I did copy it. I'm so sorry. No, you did. He's the double standard one, and people love Sony for exclusively doing. RDX, just let us know in the chat if we missed it. Sorry, my ADHD does not make this easy. But so this is the point. Okay, we talked about the controversy surrounding it, and we talked about the double standards. But what is it? Look, PlayStation. If you're there, you're worried as hell. There are no, I don't know how much they foresaw this coming. I don't know what kind of disclosure happens there, but you must be scared. I'm so nice now. Normally I don't mute my swear words, but fine. Jeff, talk to me. What can PlayStation do to counter this in any? I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things to consider here. I think the first thing is, I think they are panicked a little bit and they are freaked out, and that's true. But I don't know if they need to then panic buy something. They don't need to necessarily go out and immediately acquire something. I think for the most part, the PlayStation 5 is going to continue to succeed. They're going to continue making a lot of money from a lot of the games that are on PlayStation 5 now, next year, and through the end of this generation. It really is a long-term play, and Sony long-term wants to be able to rely on PlayStation for the games it sells, but specifically for its services. It's become a very reliable source of revenue thanks to its services, and it needs to be able to compete. And the one way you're going to be able to compete is with content. And if content's going to get more and more expensive, and and your value proposition is going to look pretty bad compared to Game Pass, 5-10 years from now, that's the kind of thing where it's like maybe this is something you can't rely on. So you do need to do something to compete. Now, I don't know, like, they have a lot of debt at Sony, but I also think interest rates are still low. If they want to go out, borrow some money and make some moves, I think they could probably do something up to the tune of $15-20 billion. They could. That would create a lot of interest payments for them, but they can afford it. They really can. They actually can afford it. They're affording their interest payments now. If you were to go out and get something like Square Enix, Final Fantasy XIV's revenues are going to probably be able to cover the interest payments by themselves, and then everything else is sort of icing on top of that. So my guess here, though, is that even then they're like, yeah, we could do that, but do we want to? Is that the long-term strategy we want to be in? I personally would say, don't quit fighting the fight. You are still going to be PlayStation tomorrow. You still have this cachet in your name that you can capitalize on, and the path to winning here is not destroying Microsoft and Xbox. It is finding a way to maintain and build that cachet and making PlayStation gamers as happy as possible. And I think the best way to do that is to stop fighting with Microsoft, find some ways to make some deals with them to ensure you can keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, and then maybe eventually bring Game Pass on there or something like that, or some form of Game Pass, so that you get most of those games that you've lost, and you'll be fine. What's the downside? It's not like people wouldn't also subscribe to Spartacus. People say, well, that doesn't make sense. Spartacus is coming. People only have one subscriction to movies and TV. I have more than 5. So it's most people, I think, have at least 1 or 2. And if you have a PlayStation, you're definitely going to get Spartacus. I think it's a matter of do I get Game Pass as well? But if Game Pass is there, you might, and then Sony gets a little bit of cut of that as well. It's I just don't see the problem here. Just work with Microsoft instead of fighting them.
That's very sensible, and it's the first time I'm hearing about that as well, because a lot of, in immediacy of this announcement, a lot of it is red flags. Even I'm like, oh shit, if this PlayStation, what the hell are they gonna do? But that's a great point about bolstering what you already have. PlayStation has a lot of strengths. It doesn't need to do a tit for tat like some people thinking. This is inevitable. Miles, in terms, so I was the first time also heard about this 15 billion and paying the interest. That's good to know that there might be some acquisitions in the works. But Jeff also alluded to Spartacus being. So is it your view now that there's this question about day and date. To me, that question has been removed. Now it's like a necessity that PlayStation follows suit. Do you agree? Do you think they'll do day and date on this Spartacus program, whatever the hell it is?
I think long term it would make a ton of sense. Yeah, because like Jeff touched on, so PlayStation's strengths have been its games. It's sort of like there's a lot of parallels to Nintendo's strengths and PlayStation's. Is they have these games that people are going to buy and people are going to play, and that is valuable. That means Phil Spencer constantly praises the other companies for that because he understands what that means in the space. And I don't think PlayStation needs quote unquote to go out and buy someone, like you said, this whole back and forth tit for tat. What does Xbox need to do to counter? What does PlayStation need to do to counter? No. The strongest and smartest thing you can do in this space now is figure out a way to diversify yourself. You have to give people something that nobody else is giving them, and that has value. So Phil Spencer kind of alluded to the fact that long term, he doesn't think that PlayStation can ignore the day and date releases. And I think that's going to become increasingly obvious as more and more huge games launch day and date in Game Pass. Where for a while, people could criticize the quality of games launching day and date, and they could kind of downplay Xbox's first party output. When massive titles start to hit, that are, just sort of pulling ourselves outside of the console war bubble and nonsense when Xbox is releasing titles that are
you're talking to the Souls boss, but go ahead.
Objectively on more or less on the same level, where you can look and say, man, Xbox is killing it, PlayStation is killing it. But with Xbox, I can play their games day and date through their subscription, and with PlayStation, I have to pay $70. It's $70 is $70. It's a lot of people are like, I support the devs, and that's why I pay $70. Dude, I hate the poor shaming that we see in gaming a lot.
Yeah.
It's an expensive hobby, dude. Sorry, get over it. No, stop. That does not.
Devs aren't going to support you when you have to go make rent. Like, don't support them when they
Just stop that. I hate that so much. It's so gross. So
I think,
you can support the devs by sharing their games, playing their games. They're getting paid. That's what people don't seem to understand is regardless of how this all plays out, they're getting money. They're getting paid. So, I think day and day, if PlayStation doesn't do it, I think that is a big mess. And I can't imagine that they're not having the conversations of how they make that work.
I think that's changed. And if that hadn't changed before this week, it's definitely changed now. And I'm talking about Sony HQ and those conversations they're having. Hey, so what's your point on that? Because Miles and Jeff kind of put it really well. Like, you don't have to, and this is all we're seeing. I've seen it all on Twitter. What's PlayStation going to buy? What's PlayStation going to buy? To the point where I'm like, okay, they're buying something? Okay, shit, they're buying something. What they're buying? And Colin Moriarty's like, is they going to return fire? But I'm like, with what money? But do they need to do that? What about Spartacus? Please bless me with your knowledge.
So there's a few things to consider in that, really. One is what we've been saying for absolutely ages, is that Sony's best strategy going forwards is not necessarily to try and go toe-to-toe with Microsoft. Never has been the case. Whether that be partnering with Microsoft or partnering with one of these companies that Microsoft is so scared of, so your Amazons and your Googles and all the rest of it, there's people they can talk to and things they can make happen. They've also got to consider, so when the announcement went through and Sony's share price dropped, tanked down, and they lost like 20 billion of their value, right over their shoulder was Nintendo, whose share price was like, we don't care, whatever. So in terms of Sony's options, though, they can look at how to compete with Microsoft, or they can look at how to become more resilient like their cousins over there are, right? So it could be that Sony needs to acquire someone like a Square Enix or another publisher, but not necessarily to go toe-to-toe with Microsoft. Their strategy can be their own. And everyone's seeing this future that Microsoft are seeing. We're all assuming this is going to happen. We all see Game Pass, we all see cloud streaming, we all say, give it X number of years, and the question is always how many years, but give it X number of years and this is what gaming is going to look like. But it's not easy for Microsoft. Microsoft just announced that they've got 25 million Game Pass subscribers. And only a couple of months ago we all assumed it was 30 million because the conversation would take two. So it's going up slowly. It's like it's a battle ahead of Microsoft as well. So don't necessarily assume the future, or at least don't necessarily assume the time frame is short for that future. Because it's not looking that way at the moment. It's really not. And you look at Microsoft trying to reach 3 billion gamers. They've got 25 million at the moment.
Yeah.
There's this massive gap still to fill, and Sony have got time to maneuver.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Well
do. I
said.
agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mobile market is the one, and you're right. When you compare the two, it's like they haven't even started making a dent there, or even inroads, really. Hopefully, this will be the precursor to that. Lord Nater, thanks so much for the $10 super checkers. When Sony gets Final Fantasy and Persona, they don't let. This is the community is not going to let this go. So when Sony gets Final Fantasy and Persona, they don't let a community of JRPGs grow on Xbox, and the side effect is developers don't want to put JRPGs on because Xbox doesn't have the public. Sony's killing the community on Xbox. 100% agree with you, because ultimately this is another symptom of these timed exclusives. Sony was very methodical in doing this because it's just alienated that platform from a genre, and it was doing it at a time where Xbox was last gen really weak. It was and really capitalizing to try and remove them from the space. You're really right. And I think I've got a source video coming on that to discuss that kind of point, but you're right. You're really right. One Bad Mother, thank you so much for the $5 super chat from the Xbox Hero crew. Best collection of hair ever in a podcast, as long as you print Gaz isn't on the panel. Wow! I did not read that latter part until I would have not been so nice to you. Thank you so much, Abe, for the super chat. Matthew Dillon, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Remember, quality over quantity, boys. PS all the way. Great point. Great point. That might change, but yeah, great point. Quality, if they can match
It's working for, like the guy says, it's working for Nintendo. Nintendo's going to be just fine because of that.
Exactly, and that's what Asa said about keeping an eye on replicating what the cousins are doing, i.e. Nintendo. That's the strat I would definitely focus on, really now doubling down. That's why it's good for the bloody industry, man. This will light a fire up Sony's arse. Right, we can't mess around. Quality has to be there, so Matthew Dillon can keep super chatting what he's saying. Hoggy Channy, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, because that's noted in this chat. Sony has $2 trillion of debt. They are well over their value in debt. Can they really afford to buy a publisher? I think, Jeff, you kind of...
I still think they can. Yeah, I know it's a lot of debt. It's a big, scary number, but I still think with the interest rates where they are right now, not for very long, but where they are at right now, they could make a move. If they wait a little bit, interest rates are kind of it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I would expect them, if they're going to make that choice, they're going to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely agree. When it's Sony, it's good. When it's Microsoft, it's bad, says Ismazy. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Listen, Microsoft won't stop until they're number one to be the Netflix of gaming. You need more, even more IPs. Isma going for the jugular. Says, I am a victim of what this is happening. Isma, I don't want to make you ridicule you. I agree with you. The double standards are getting called out a lot. Destin Laguerre did a very good video about that as well, and said just stop it because it's a bit obvious. So yeah, the narrative is shifting in favor of the community. It's good to see that the fan or whatever, but then they got Twitter warriors as well. It's like, how much utility is in that? But I'm rambling. Risk it for the biscuit, thank you so much for the £10 super chat. I've said it so many times, Wolverine will be day and date. That said, there's no move Sony can make that doesn't seem weak. All they need is Dungeon and Dragons on Spartacus. D&D, is that what he's talking about?
Day and date.
Day and date. I was like, Dungeon and Dragons.
That's Xbox killer, dude.
That's big with the kids.
Yeah, it was 20 years ago. We're skipping for the biscuit as well. Thank you so much for the £5 super checkers. If they want to fight PlayStation, a smart move would be to buy Square Enix to take Crystal Dynamics away from Microsoft, but this is a war. They can't now win and shouldn't try. Square Enix is in the lips of a lot of people when it comes to speculating about this. What do you think, Jeff? Because ultimately, I don't know if that's good money spent. I guess taking away from Xbox, fine. But there's so many associations with Final Fantasy and PlayStation.
It does feel like, you're buying the cow, you're already getting the milk. What sense does that make? I agree with that to a certain point, but it is like, it's not necessarily about like, the public facing perception of it as much as it is like they can look at, okay, you got a bunch of IP that we can exploit in the future. You have a consistent moneymaker in Final Fantasy 14 that makes this deal immediately financially worth it. Where it's like, okay, like if they could borrow that money and begin immediately servicing that debt just with Final Fantasy 14, then it's like, okay, everything on top of that is just money working in our favor at that point. And I think there's a lot of games from Square Enix and a lot of studios that can immediately put to work. I still don't know if it happens, but people are writing off the idea like it's crazy, and I would at this point. in this gaming industry that we live in right now, after what just happened, guys, nothing's off the table. Everything is possible. These companies are, if you're Sony and you are panicking, you're gonna make some moves one way or the other. I tend to agree with Ace's take that it should look more like trying to do more games that are Nintendo-like sellers. Like, they got Spider-Man that sells now like 25 million between two games. That's really good. That's way better than most other Sony games. Like God of War getting near 20 million. That's pretty good. But you don't have anything that's in that 30 million category like Mario Kart and like Animal Crossing. Those are games that aren't selling 30 million while being discounted. They're mostly selling at $60 flat. So it's like there's still room for Sony's games that they are putting out right now. The quote unquote best games in the world, the Game of the Year winners every year. There's room for them to grow and get bigger and bigger. They just need to figure out the path toward that. I think that probably is the right answer right now.
Exactly. I can't fully agree with you. Very quickly, we're going to hit these super chats, and then we're going to go into the next two topics. We've got half an hour. Dan Lazaro, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Not hating today, Gaz. Good job. Thank you so much, Dan, for not hating. And thank you for the super chat. Don Natalka, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Nintendo has more quality and quantity, though. What quantity does Nintendo have? I'm sorry, even Jeff Grubb would have to contort himself to argue.
A new Kirby would be looking fire, though.
That new Kirby does look good. They don't have that many games. They have like at best they'll have like a game a month at best, and usually most years they don't have that. And as a Nintendo fan, I know that I yell at them to put out more games all the time. So yes, that's absolutely right.
It can never be enough. No one will ever put out enough games.
Well, I mean, the people that are the maddest at Nintendo are Nintendo fans. People are always like, "Oh, you can't make fun of Nintendo. You're on a Nintendo podcast." I'm like, "That's what we do. Have you never paid attention?"
Exactly. I know that. I'm a big Nintendo fan as well. Asa isn't. Let's throw things at him. Rebellos, thank you so much for the $5 Canadian. I've saved so much with Game Pass, so has everybody. I can now afford kids. I hope my source is up for the task. I'm sure you're very virile. You've got the sperm count to make that happen. I'm with you. Take this moment. I will give you my blessings.
You're going to give me a sperm count. Okay, fine, good. Carry on. Blessings.
If it's a boy, name after me. He gets an automatic passport to Kazakhstan. Billy Noble, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. So with the scrutiny, will they take away Activision Blizzard and just call it Xbox? Don't think so. They've said they're going to be independent anyway, so it's going to be carry on that way, right, Jeff? Right, Miles?
Yeah, there's going to be. That's why it's the CEO of Microsoft Gaming is Phil Spencer, and he's going to have a lot of brands underneath him. There's going to be a new head of Xbox underneath him, probably. There's going to be, and there's going to be the CEO of Activision, and maybe a CEO of Blizzard separate from Activision going forward. That's the way I would do it. But there's definitely going to be probably a CEO of Activision underneath Phil Spencer, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Face to 23 BKNY, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Extremely generous of you. Do we really want to see a world where Microsoft, an American company, has the most Western RPGs and shooters, and PlayStation possibly buying Square Enix or Capcom and keeping all the Japanese games away from Xbox? Great question. My knee-jerk reaction to that is yes, why not? Because there's something different on different platforms. Is that bad take? Do you agree with me? Am I going to get raked through the coals? I don't know. But thank you so much. Miles, do you want to tackle that quickly? Because that's a very generous super chat. I feel like it would be
Yeah, so the question is it bad for Xbox to have all the Western and PlayStation have all the Japanese? Is that the general gist of that there?
Yeah.
I mean, Xbox has been working hard to kind of diversify itself and make it a global brand. So I don't think Xbox is very happy with its Japanese output, so I don't think Xbox is just going to stand by and let another platform, whether it be Nintendo or PlayStation, make massive moves on that level. But again, like we talked about earlier, it's all about giving yourself some sort of unique property as one of these platforms, and that's going to be how these platforms succeed. So if PlayStation decides that's how they're going to succeed, sure, I guess, but with PlayStation leaning so heavily into the West, I don't really see them just saying, okay, we're only going to have Japanese development and we're going to be happy with that. I don't think that's the world.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Asa, can you read RDX Son of a Fet super chat? Sorry, I missed that concept.
Not word for word, but I can tell you he was just referencing Ken Kutaraga's comments about VR headsets being an annoyance, which
Yeah.
I mean, I love them,
Yeah,
but it's fair criticism. I mean, the guy's 71, I think, so fair play. Like,
Yeah, he's
even if he
annoyed by
wasn't.
linoleum at this point. So yeah,
Exactly that. But it is an annoyance, right? I've said loads of times, it's probably not going to be mainstream anytime soon. Putting one of those headsets on, strapping into that treadmill that I've got behind me, that's effort that most people can't be bothered with, and that's fine. I don't need it to be mainstream. I just need it to be cutting edge and fun. So be it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chat, thank you so much for super chats. I'm going to tackle another topic, so you can pause or just carry on, but then one more burst. I don't want to be in a situation where I don't get time to read yours. Kate Forever, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. So, panel, is Battle.net and Blizzard the key for Microsoft to reach the Asian markets they laughably fall behind on? Asa, what's your take on that? Battle.net and Blizzard.
What was the question, sorry?
Is Battle.net Blizzard the key for Microsoft to reach the Asian markets they laughably fall behind on?
No, Game Pass is streaming. So obviously StarCraft has a massive presence in Korea and has done for like 100 years or whatever. Not literally 100 years, but for a long time. It's been a massive esport over there. Fairly well known that their best StarCraft players are kind of celebrities. So yeah, it gives them some reach. They've got a different kind of game. Every time they acquire someone that gives them a different kind of game they don't already have on the platform, they're going to find new routes into new markets. But Game Pass and streaming is probably still their big push into Asia in general. So yeah, exactly. All right. Rodimus, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. If one of these public traded companies like Square Enix or Capcom came up for sale, it wouldn't just cause a bidding war, which Sony could lose out on. It could, and if it's Capcom, there's no. I don't know what their market cap is. Jeff, can they Capcom on the cards? How much do you reckon they're worth?
I would have to look it up, but probably they're probably out of the realm of possibility. I think for Sony, I think
Jeff Keighley dropped some rough estimates on Twitter recently for a lot of these, and Capcom wasn't as high as I would have expected.
Yeah, maybe it's not that. I think
it's 10 or less.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's 705.6 billion yen. So that's going to be what? That's going to be like $7 billion for the market cap. And then you would probably at least a 50% markup probably. So yeah, we're looking at like $10.5 billion. Oh. So I guess it's possible. I think a big part of that is the shareholders have to want to sell. They have to believe that they are, like, the thing with Activision, people need to keep in mind is they're at kind of a high point, even though their stock price has gone down recently over the last year or so. They're kind of not going to go any higher. They weren't going to go any higher. They were only going to go down. I think the belief for most people is Capcom has a bright future. They are hitting on all cylinders, and so it's like they might ask for a premium at that point, and maybe that pushes us out of the realm of possibility, and you have to convince people that they want to sell, so it's not a hostile takeover, which is even more difficult. So I don't know. There's a lot of factors for that sort of thing.
That'd be quite interesting to see how Capcom, if that's the one, and there may be a bidding war. That's good super chat. Thank you so much for that. Risky for the biscuit. Thank you so much for the £2. PlayStation should do a Crash Bandicoot reboot. Oh shit, messy. Hoggy Channy, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. King David on the show, who actually, funnily, had a dream that the PlayStation 6 was not happening anymore. I dreamt of King David, and yeah, that was weird. But I don't know why I'm talking about that. $5 super King David on the show stated that there will not be a PlayStation 6. With these moves, could we see PlayStation moving towards a publisher like Sega? I don't think it's doom and gloom like that, Hoggy. I think there's long legs in it. Just like Acer said, we're just starting to see the source. Jeremy G with the $5, it simply says, grub hype. What a fan. What a fan. 2 words, but those are the words all he needs to say. Thank you so much for the super chats. We want to move to the next topic. This is second last topic that I want to talk about is something that I don't know because I scrolled away from the topics. I'm such an idiot. There it is. No. It's the big one, actually, funnily enough. This one, Call of Duty, the exclusivity thing. I know it's so annoying. It's like, oh, what the hell? But we're going to inject some sauce and some fresh takes on this. Jeff, it's good because it generates a lot of discussion. It's good for us content creators, right? But it's also so bloody annoying because it's the same thing. It's like, is COD coming to PlayStation? I was speaking to Special Nick Games, like, yes, you're such an idiot, so naive. Look at the word desire for me, desire. I was just like, what the flip, man? Like, I was like, I'm sitting on the fence. I think that's the best place
Playing
to be.
both sides, so you always come out on top.
Yeah, that's right. Come at you, coward.
I usually don't sit on the fence, though. When it came to the Bethesda thing, I said it is coming to Xbox. It makes no sense. But this one, this is different. People are saying, oh, it's just like the Bethesda. Did you know it's the exact same statement? No, it's not. Phil Spencer went out of his way to say PlayStation, the desire is for it to stay on PlayStation. Call of Duty to stay on PlayStation. I think from that, people are saying, oh, but desire, such legalese. You know what it is. Jeff, what's your take on this stuff, man?
I don't know what it is.
I'll tell you what it is.
Well, I get what he, like, he put out a tweet. I just think that, like, at that point when he's talking about this and it hasn't closed yet, he can't just go out and talk willy-nilly. Every word has to be chosen carefully. The lawyers are definitely overlooking it because this stuff is going to be overseen by the SEC. So I think every word is chosen specifically to convey their strategic purposes that they are allowed to publicly talk about, which would have to be consistent with what they're going to do afterward. I think that there is... he could say there's a desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation and mean Call of Duty Warzone, and then that's that. Call of Duty will be on PlayStation almost without a doubt because Warzone's going to continue being on PlayStation, and Warzone's going to get a lot of attention. It's going to get a lot of updates. It's going to probably be the year that they do take off of Call of Duty, which seems inevitable at this point, where they're going to give that series a break. That Call of Duty Warzone will continue to be the primary Call of Duty and step up and kind of be the Call of Duty. And so at that point, the Call of Duty will still be on PlayStation. I think anything after that, though, that after that year break, when they come back, I would not count on PlayStation getting the new Call of Duty proper $60-$70 bundle package or whatever it is at that point. At the same time, Minecraft is an important reference point where Minecraft did stay on everything because it is a service game that they turned into more of a service over time where people are now buying stuff in its store or whatever. Call of Duty has a store. Call of Duty has microtransactions. That's a very important thing. That's a very important part of that. And if you are putting out any sort of service-based game, especially a service-based shooter, you want to be in as many places as possible, and that means so they have the mobile game, they have it on a bunch of consoles, and they have it on PC. I think there's still a chance it ends up on PlayStation, but I don't know. I'm still not sure about that. At this point, if I had to bet, I would probably end up saying that the primary Call of Duty games that release annually or that had released annually up to a point will come back from a break and just be on Xbox. But I'm not willing to bet a lot of money on that. I really don't know.
One beef and cheddar. One beef and cheddar.
Yeah. One beef and cheddar. There you go. Yeah. So gentleman's bet. One beef and cheddar. Yeah.
What do you think, Miles? Are you a betting man? One more than beef and cheddar. Could you put your sauce hat in the ring? What do you think?
Okay. So yeah, it really could go a bunch of different ways. I'm kind of in the same camp with Jeff here. I think Phil Spencer is very particular with the words that were used on that. And there's probably a board of a ton of people looking at that tweet to read over it and say, okay, change this, change this, change this. So our desire is going to be speculated and talked about for a year. Just like when Phil Spencer came out and said that some Bethesda titles will be exclusive, people were like, dude, what? You can't even tell us that all Bethesda titles are exclusive? Come on. And people were mad at Phil Spencer, but he knew legally you can't just come out and say, yeah, all Bethesda titles, and then you have like a few that are multi-plat. So they're carrying out the contracts. There's a bunch of stuff that's already signed with the Call of Duty machine. They probably already have the next Call of Duty or two planned and ready to go in some capacity. So I kind of think that in one scenario, our desire means that, yes, Warzone will serve as the primary Call of Duty platform moving forward. So like Jeff talked about Minecraft, Warzone will be the new Minecraft platform. That will stay multi-plat. You can play that on PC, you can play that on PlayStation, you can play that on Xbox. Yeah. But I imagine our traditional campaigns and our Call of Duty Zombies, like those style of modes, once these contracts are done, I envision that those will be Xbox and PC exclusives, or as Phil Spencer so famously said, any platform where Game Pass exists. So these conversations could be our desire is to put this on PlayStation, but our desire is also to have Xbox Game Pass on PlayStation 5. So do you want to, because there are people who, you know, will buy Call of Duty and they will go to where Call of Duty is. PlayStation knows that. Xbox knows that. Like Xbox used to have, you know, a cut of their gold subscriptions going to Activision because of Call of Duty. So they understand that. And what that means is there's going to be pressure where there wasn't before. Because let's be real, Sony's market share didn't dip by 20% when Xbox bought Bethesda. So there is a lot of weight to this, and that if you're an investor, if you're Sony, Call of Duty, as much as us in the core space are kind of over it, it carries weight. So
definitely,
it's tough. I think if I'm betting one beef and cheddar, yes, I think that all traditional campaigns, Call of Duty Zombies, will be PC and Xbox exclusive after the year 2024. And I think that Warzone will be the only way you can play Call of Duty on PlayStation, unless they put Game Pass on PS5. That's where I'm at.
That's a big unless. That's the point that I was talking to Nick about on Twitter or whatever. I was saying the desire is there, but there are inevitably, Asa, going to be conditions for that desire to match, because there has to be a condition. Is Game Pass? Is it Xbox Live integration? Could be a myriad of different things, Asa. What's your take on it? Do you think COD beyond Warzone is going to be on PlayStation?
I hate that we have to have these conversations again. Do you know, before...
One more time.
Yeah, but before ZeniMax, you'd never have this kind of conversation around an acquisition, and the only reason that these like speculative conversations happened was that Microsoft sowed doubt. They sowed the sum statement that's already been referenced there. They sowed the ambiguity and kept it in the news for like a year. So the cynic in me says desire is the next year's news. So never mind the legal attention. And again, so when we used to talk about ZeniMax, they had their 3 big IPs valued. So Doom, Skyrim, and Fallout were valued at like 7 billion combined. And I always argued that if there were any games that were going to go cross-platform, it would be the ones that hold value already, because they've just spent money on them and they don't want to devalue it. Call of Duty holds a hell of a value. So if any game was going to stay multi-platform, never mind the revenue that it makes and the fact that it's a service game and all the things that Jeff and Miles have already said, those are all true. But it's also, you just spent 20 billion on this thing, and you're going to like go and scuff it. You're going to devalue it instantly if you take it off of a major platform. And then all that money that you just spent, it's like buying a house and like wrecking one of the rooms for no reason, punching a hole in the wall, right? So there's an argument for keeping it
extension later on, though. Forward planning,
Well, maybe, but I mean, there's an argument for that. But I'm with Jeff and Miles. I think the wording is there and the conversations will go on. But after, I think the contract probably lasts for Call of Duty 22, 23, and 24. So there's another 3 Call of Duty games coming. And then I think Call of Duty takes a break, and then I think it comes back as an exclusive. That's okay. Again, I wouldn't bet much on it. Not even like
that
my treadmill.
One beef and cheddar in the mix.
One beef and cheddar. I'll do it. One beef and cheddar. I'll do it. So you guys have convinced me a bit. I'm on the fence, but
do you know what's going to be fun though? Call of Duty 22, 23, and 24 are going to have PlayStation exclusive downloadable content, because that's the contract that's already signed, and it's going to be really awkward.
But I can see the fanboys saying, thank you for paying for, I don't know,
and the way those contracts are like are worded, like they wouldn't be able to do like, and then also special content for Xbox as well. Like they have to specifically make the Xbox version worse than the PlayStation version. That's how those contracts are worded. So
so whether they are going to be good COD games, that's the thing, is going kind of downhill as well. There's one thing I'm really grateful or looking forward to is COD taking a break a little bit. The annual releases please do it. Focus on something else.
I will be very frustrated if Microsoft continues the annual Call of Duty train, and I honestly, I can't imagine they will. Like, I don't imagine any scenario where Call of Duty, once these deals are done and everything closes post acquisition, there's a Call of Duty every year. I can't see. Xbox has done such a good job of turning its key pillars into, platforms. Sea of Thieves, Halo Infinite now. Like, they understand that you don't have to crank out a sequel every year. You can continue to iterate and evolve these games, and that's still viable, still makes money, and that's the much better approach for us as players, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Fully agree. Wandering Dutch, welcome to the family. Thank you so much for being a member. Thank you, sir. That's really generous of you. I swear you were a member before. You guys keep cancelling and re-subbing just so I can auto-tune. And I'm all there for it, just so I can use this. Argy Channy, thank you so much for $5 super chat. Could Xbox and Epic get together and push Sony to drop its cross-play tax? Bethesda and Activision games and Fortnite is big revenue for Sony. That's a great question. That could be one of the conditions, no, Jeff?
Yeah, I think that this gives a lot of bargaining chip, like even because a lot of people are going to subscribe to PlayStation Plus for Call of Duty, and Microsoft's going to know that, and they'll be able to say, hey, like, yeah, if you do want to keep Call of Duty on here, our desires involve maybe us getting a better cut, you dropping the crossplay tax, and we're not actually going to pay you that money to or you're going to pay us a little bit more money for what people give you for PS Plus because of Call of Duty. So there's a lot of stuff where they could just sort of nickel and dime them. I don't know if that would be a Microsoft strategy, but that stuff is on the table, at least for bargaining.
I will just to add to that, though, I'd be very, very surprised if the cross-play tax currently applies to Call of Duty, because it's always been put forward as something that the big publishers can negotiate. So I don't think Activision are paying that for Call of Duty as it stands.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. I think it's on a... The emails between, I think Epic's, was it Turn 20? I forget his names. And Phil Spencer did suggest, like, Phil was really intent on this, so maybe they might be in the running there. It's a good super chat, Hoggy. Michael G, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. You don't put a ring on a girl and still share with her ex. These games will all be exclusive when contracts are over, with only going to Xbox. You don't, unless your name is Will Smith. What is he doing? Because he's in a polyamorous, what do you call it? Like, he's one of those relationships. But you can see he's dead inside. He does not...
Talking gaming, not like Hello Magazine. Come on.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, thank you for the super chat. Dan Lazaro, thank you so much for the $2 super chat, because Colin calls it out because he has a Patreon to sell. I don't know. I mean, we called out poor Colin, man. He's not here to defend himself. But why do you unfollow me? I'm going to make more sources. Sorry, boy, Colin. More sources coming its way. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. RDX Son of Fett, thank you so much for the $2 79. Sony's paying to keep things off Game Pass. I think that's a fair statement or what their strategy will be, because Game Pass is a problem. Doxy Ember for the $20 super chat to perpetuate a lie that he keeps doing every week on every show. It's not my birthday. It's not my birthday. It'll never be my birthday. But thank you so much for the $20 super chat. $20 just to... Oh, I love you and hate you at the same time. Final topic. We've got about 7 minutes to tackle this. And this is a topic just speculating about what is on the cards, because apparently gents can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking on good authority, I have it, and this is public information apparently, Microsoft has about $60 billion to play with, and it needs to spend it by June apparently, otherwise it either has to pay tax or makes offshore investments, and this is January. This acquisition was just a sign of that. Jeff, do you think this is true? Well, I think it's true, but do you think Xbox is going to acquire something before June?
Yeah, the thing is like, you have that much money and you want to invest it somewhere, and there's not a lot of good options anymore, and so spending on a video game company is a very good investment. There's just not going to be a lot of options where something like Activision Blizzard's current situation comes along and is serendipitous with you wanting to spend that money. Mm-hmm. They probably will spend some more money on some acquisitions, gaming related. Chances are, though, like, they might spend that money on any one of their number of other outfits that they have. They almost bought TikTok, right? So it's like they had a bunch of money set aside to purchase TikTok, which would have been really expensive as well. And I bet they wish they would have paid up for that by now, because now it's the biggest website on the internet or whatever, the most trafficked website. Yeah, it's the most trafficked website, more than Google, more than YouTube. It's number one, yeah. But so they're clearly ready to make moves. I just don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to gaming. It could be for anything. So, but gaming's a good place to put your money right now. So don't count that out either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I did say that did come across my mind. They don't necessarily have to spend it in gaming, but this is the chance to consolidate the industry, right, Miles? Do you think? I have a feeling Microsoft will spend money in the gaming space. What do you think? And what would you think if you were Microsoft? What would you be looking at?
Yeah, it's kind of tough to think about timelines. A lot of us, online speculate about, what acquisition's coming next, when it's going to be announced, stuff like that. But the reality is, as we saw with this deal, sometimes it's just the perfect storm. Things just happen. There's a few week window where they're able to make these deals happen. Sometimes it takes years. So it's hard to say that, in the next 6 months, Microsoft's going to come out and announce X acquisition, because they just spent $69 billion, and then not only do they have to wait for this deal to close, then they have to onboard, integrate all these teams. It's a huge process, especially for a publisher. Like a studio is one thing, a couple hundred employees, 10,000 employees, like that is an entirely different beast. So it's hard for me to imagine they're going to just compile all these things. Like, all right, we just bought Activision, but let's throw Capcom in the mix. Let's throw Square in the mix. Let's see how many thousands of bodies we can try to integrate at one time and hope for the best. And as that number gets bigger and bigger and bigger, I start to have more worries about how the hell they're going to do it, because let's be real, like that's complicated. So I always, again, if I'm picking one, if I'm Phil Spencer and I'm picking one, it's Capcom.
I knew you were going to say Capcom with your bloody Mega Man's behind you.
the amount of stunning IP in Capcom's catalog is outrageous. And when you combine that with Game Pass and the ability to revisit Beautiful Joe, Mega Man, all these franchises that they don't do anything with because they're afraid they won't make money, that opens up a lot of possibilities for some cool new titles. But again, do I think it's happening in the next 6 months? Probably not. Will I wake up on a random Tuesday and see it? I don't know. I don't know anymore.
That means yes, ladies and gentlemen. Asa, just to wrap up, what do you think that's going to be? This is apparently Microsoft makes they'll make 30 billion next quarter. Is going to happen again next year. But what's your take on this happening?
So within gaming, the company that I always look at Sega, because Microsoft and Sega have that history, and it would just be a nice acquisition. But the company that I really look at, like, I don't know what your future is Valve. I don't know.
Valve.
I don't know how long Gabe Newell's going to want to keep it running, and I don't know where it goes after that. So if an opportunity is going to arise, opportunity is going to arise, that's a potential opportunity. And it will be a difficult acquisition because its value is in its audience. But its value is in its audience, and its audience hates Microsoft. So it will be a tricky thing to negotiate in that sense. Like, Microsoft have already got a PC store, and people are on Steam because they don't want a part of it. But
I mean, I think that it's like people go where they always go. People's momentum just keeps them going forward. So if the owner changes hands and it's still called Steam and it's still the thing and they have their library there, they'll keep buying games. My concern would be like, no, that actually is going to trigger antitrust at that point, because Steam basically already is a monopoly, has the power to choose winners and losers on PC. Microsoft takes that over, and that they control Microsoft, or they control Windows. They control the biggest store on Windows. They control, some of the biggest competition to it. Like, that actually would be looked into by regulators. I don't necessarily know if that means it wouldn't go through, but that would definitely get a lot more challenge than what this is going to get.
I would 100% agree. 100% agree. Because I just immediately, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit where Colin might actually have weight behind his crocodile tears. Huggy Channy, thanks so much for the $2 super chat. Microsoft should buy Discovery and Warner Brothers from AT&T. Warner Brothers is something everyone in chat is saying as well. And that's a good chat there. Well, Rumor Mill was suggesting that. Hoggy Chen, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Again, he says Gaz's birthday every day in Kazakhstan. You're right. That's right. That's what my man day is. And yeah, don't super chat that anymore. So Risky for the biscuit. Thank you so much for the £2 super chat. Do you think Jim Royan has false teeth like Gaz? There were retainers. There were retainers. I will say that one last time. I don't have false teeth yet. Gents, I did it, Jeff. Look at that.
That's beautiful.
Right on the money.
Right on the money, man. That's impressive stuff. Well done.
Oh, man. I know you're conscious of time, so I'll give you a chance to... I hope you had a good time. I'm sorry to badger you and send you semi-nudes on Twitter to get you here, but...
I mean, I hope the one was fully nude. You were in the shower. So...
I was.
You were? I got those all saved for the police report, so don't worry.
That's for the back. Keep the evidence.
Yeah, that's right.
I hope you had a good time, man.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me on. This is a real good way to spend a Saturday. I appreciate it.
No, and happy birthday again, or early birthday again to your daughter again.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that.
And thank you so much for joining. Last but certainly not least is Miles Dompierre. He's obviously going to get... You're pining for the job at Microsoft and Xbox. You're going to be hosting E3 soon. Paris, get out of here. It's Miles Dompierre. It's going to be the face. How you doing, man? I hope you had a good time. It's always sick when you're here. Only you can get me excited for these speculative, fake games that never happen anyway. I hope you had a good time, man.
I did. I really did. Always love swimming in the sauce, as the kids say. But no, seriously. Obviously, this is an awesome week to be on this show and a lot to talk about. And I'm excited for the next 16 months of will Call of Duty be exclusive?
I'm already tired of that, but yeah, that will be a feature of this show and every other show for our next.
Every YouTube thumbnail for the next year is going to be Phil Spencer, and it's going to say, "Will Call of Duty be exclusive?" Question mark.
Yep, with my stupid face in there with the clickbait. But yeah, no, thank you so much, both gents. You really just livened up the show as you did, and you smashed it, and it offered some genuinely things to think about. My most exciting part was the speculative game mashup, of all things. That's Microsoft. If you're listening, please make it happen. Asa, I think Microsoft will buy Ubisoft next. Spider Monkey says, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. What's your thought on it? No, we don't have time. Sorry, Spider. We have to say goodbye. But thank you so much. Ubisoft could be on the cards. Asa, where can people find you? People love your VR stuff. What are you doing next? And yeah.
Really quickly, because I know Jeff needs to go. You can find me on Twitch, Asa_GameOnDaily, and YouTube. I'm sure, Isla's popping the links in there. And I'm going to be on that all week, and it's been great fun. And thank you, everyone, so much for coming along. There's loads of people here today giving it a watch. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Miles. Speaking quickly, let's get it done. It's been a good show.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have a lot more videos coming in the works with serious ones as well, and Source. Not every video I do is Source. People keep saying that. The one video where I was making fun of Halo Infinite shit story, I'm not even going to censor that, it was not a Source video. It was genuine. I think it's shit. Come at me. But we have a lot more videos coming in. Thank you. Please like and subscribe on your way out. Share it out if you enjoyed it. We're almost at 10k subs. Almost there. So thank you so much. Thank you, gents. We'll see you very soon on Go Live. Peace.